Ricky Arnold as EV1 will be coming out of the airlock first. He'll retrieve a crew lock bag with an Ethernet cable attached to it. He'll be followed by Drew Feustel, who'll be coming out with a power cable attached to his mini workstation. Ricky will translate around the external stowage platform 2, making his way over to the lab, where he'll translate forward along handrails and drop his green equipment hook tether. From there, he'll translate underneath the lab in Node 2, and he'll drop off his crew lock bag, attaching it to handrails at the worksite. He'll get himself into position to remove a cable to an EVA antenna, which interferes with opening up our Micrometeoroid Orbital Debris Shield, MMOD shield. Meanwhile, Drew leaves the airlock and heads nadir on station to the port side of the lab, and then he translates forward along a set of handrails to meet up with Ricky. Once Drew's at the worksite, he makes his way up to a set of power cable connections, and he releases an IDA power cable. That IDA cable power hooks up to the high-def camera power, and then the high-def camera power cable hooks back up onto the panel. The ends of that wire are wire tied to a handrail for restraint. Then Ricky receives the power cable from Drew. And Ricky will begin translating and routing that cable over onto Node 2 and then forward to the Node 2 end cone. From there, the power cable wires off into two parts of the harness. One will go to worksite interface 16 and be wire tied there. The other will be wire tied near worksite interface 17. Meanwhile, Drew will be opening up the MMOD shield, disconnecting an Ethernet cable. He'll hook that cable up to our Ethernet cable, and he'll hook our Ethernet cable up to the panel. He'll close the MLI and the MMOD shield and reconnect the EVA antenna. Once that's done, Drew will begin translating forward and meeting up with Ricky. He'll hand off the Ethernet cable, which wires off similar to the power cable. One end will be near WIF 16 and the other end will be near WIF 17. Both crew members will translate back to the airlock and they'll retrieve a boom with a high-def camera attached to it. From there, Ricky will move forward and Drew will move forward along separate paths. Once they're back on Node 2, they'll install their booms into WIF 16 and WIF 17 respectively. They'll remove protective bags that are over the high-def cameras. And they'll remove lens covers, also to protect the cameras. The bags will be stowed out of the way, and each crew member will retrieve one of the power cables to hook up to each of the high-def cameras. Once the power cables are connected, each crew member will retrieve an end of the Ethernet cable and attach that to the camera as well. Ricky will make his way back to the airlock where he'll retrieve a large ORU bag and a PGT. He'll temporarily stow the ORU bag and retrieve an articulating portable foot restraint to install on the arm. Once he's on the arm will move him over to camera port 3, where he'll start working on the light. He'll disconnect a power cable and drive a bolt to remove that light. After that's stowed out of the way, he'll retrieve a new light and install that by driving a bolt and reattaching a power cable. The arm will position him to work on the high-def camera, where he'll release two power cables. He'll install a scoop and a lens protective cover, and he'll release the high-def camera. He'll slide it off of the stanchion and stow it out of the way and retrieve the replacement high-def camera. He'll slide this back into place. He'll remove the lens cover and the scoop, and he'll attach the power cables back to the high-def camera. Meanwhile, Drew is going to be retrieving an APFR and translating around to where he left the crew lock bag. He'll stow the crew lock bag on his foot restraint and make his way out onto the GEM exposed facility. Once he's at the work site, he'll install his foot restraint into a WIF and retrieve the crew lock bag. He'll ingress the foot restraint and position himself to work on the cat's aperture door. He'll inspect the work site, he'll practice closing the door, and then he'll try and restrain the door closed. Once the door is restrained, Drew will egress the APFR, he'll stow the crew lock bag on the foot restraint, and he'll make his way back to the PMA to stow the foot restraint. After that, he'll make his way to the airlock. Meanwhile, Ricky will be cleaning up the arm by removing the articulating portable foot restraint, stowing it on the seated cart, and then retrieving the large ORU bag. Both crew members will meet back at the airlock. Drew will ingress first, followed by Ricky, and that will be the end of the EVA.